King Carl may have ruled with a pretty progressive mindset, but his wild playboy days still managed to come back and cause trouble every now and then. From secret pregnancies and DNA tests to bribes and felonies, today we're diving into our picks for the top 20 royal family scandals that shook things up big time. Number 20. The Duke of Kent, Prince George, and his wild side. Prince George, Queen Elizabeth II's uncle, lived quite a double life. By day, he was a skilled pilot and military officer, flying for the Royal Air Force. But off-duty, George was making headlines for a pretty scandalous lifestyle. Though married to Princess Marina of Greece and Denmark, he reportedly had affairs with both men and women. George's wild ways didn't end there. He was rumored to have struggled with substance abuse, which many connected to his relationship with socialite Kiki Preston, known as the girl with the silver syringe. When George's older brother, Prince Edward, found out about his new habit, he stepped in and used his influence to ban Kiki from the country and put George on lockdown, forcing him to quit cold turkey. Sadly, George's turbulent life came to an abrupt end on August 25, 1942, when he died in a plane crash while on a military mission to Iceland. Number 19. Princess Diana's famous panorama interview. When asked if Camilla Parker Bowles played a role in her marriage breakdown, Diana's response was unforgettable. "Well, there were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded." The rocky marriage between Diana and Prince Charles officially hit the skids in 1992 when they announced their separation. Feeling like the royal family was plotting to push her out, Diana sat down with BBC journalist Martin Bashir in November 1995 for a tell-all interview. "I'd like to be a queen of people's hearts," she said, but doubted many, including the royal establishment, wanted her as queen of the country. In this 54-minute special, Diana shared jaw-dropping details about her marriage, including her own affair and Charles's ongoing relationship with Camilla. She also opened up about her battles with an eating disorder and postnatal depression. The interview captivated around 200 million viewers worldwide and reportedly caused such a stir that it cut Diana's remaining ties with Buckingham Palace. "So you feel that by speaking out you'll reassure people?" the interviewer asked. "The people that mattered to me," she replied. "The man on the street." For Diana, that was what truly mattered above all. Number 18. Prince Ernest August of Hanover caught cheating. After divorcing her first husband and tragically losing her second to a speed boating accident, Princess Caroline of Monaco tied the knot for the 3rd time with Prince Ernest August of Hanover in 1999. This marriage seemed more fitting for her royal status, especially since she was the presumptive heir to the throne. But their union was far from smooth. Ernst August had several public run-ins, including a notorious incident at Expo 2000 and an assault conviction in 2004. By 2009, the couple had separated, with Caroline moving back to Monaco. Just months later, photos emerged of Prince Ernest August getting close to another woman on a beach in Thailand. The pictures were splashed across a French magazine, making headlines and clearly straining his relationship with Caroline, who was about to testify as an eyewitness in his assault appeal. Today, Caroline is more focused on her charity work than her social life, moving on from the scandalous chapter of her marriage. Number 17. Infanta Cristina of Spain's corruption scandal. "I didn't pay for these trips. It was my husband who handled it. I don't know how," Infanta Cristina claimed. As she explained, she and her husband, Iñaki Urdangarin, had divided household responsibilities, and he was in charge of family finances. However, in 2014, the sister of King Philip VI of Spain found herself at the center of a major scandal. She was charged with tax fraud and money laundering, accused of embezzling millions of dollars in public funds through the Nos Institute, an NGO managed by both her and her husband. Cristina defended herself, stating she and her husband never discussed the financial details of the NGO, leaving her unaware of any wrongdoing. In light of the charges, King Philippe stripped Cristina and her family of their royal titles and banned them from attending royal events, including his own coronation. After a public trial, the princess was acquitted of the fraud charges, though her husband was convicted and sentenced to 6 years in prison, later reduced slightly. Despite her acquittal, Cristina was still held civilly responsible and was fined €265,000 for benefiting from the crime, even if she hadn't been aware of the illegal activities. Number 16. Edward VII's abdication. In the history of the British monarchy, only once has a sovereign voluntarily stepped down from the throne, and that was King Edward VIII. He famously declared, "I have found it impossible to carry the heavy burden of responsibility and to discharge my duties as king as I would wish to do without the help and support of the woman I love." Born in 1894, Edward became king after the death of his father, George V, in 1936. However, just a few months into his reign, he decided to marry American divorcee Wallis Simpson, a move that created an uproar at the time. The Church of England, which opposed the remarriage of divorced individuals unless their former spouses had passed away, strongly disapproved of the relationship. Despite facing immense pressure from both the church and the British government, Edward chose to abdicate the throne to marry Wallis. The couple wed in June 1937 and remained together until Edward's death in 1972. Edward himself remarked, "I think happiness is a great secret to how you feel and look, perhaps. Believe me, they were happy." Number 15. Nepalese royal killings. On June 1, 2001, a tragic event unfolded at the Narayanhedi Palace in Nepal during a royal family gathering. Crown Prince Dipendra, who was initially seen as a modernist and progressive member of the royal family, allegedly killed several members of his family, including his parents, King Birendra and Queen Aishwarya. After the killings, he reportedly turned the gun on himself and fell into a coma, ultimately passing away 3 days later. The massacre shook the nation, leaving many questioning whether the prince was truly responsible for the murders. The new king, Gyanendra, who ascended the throne shortly after the event, quickly described the incident as an accident, an explanation that was met with skepticism. Many in Nepal believed the official story was a cover-up, especially as suspicion grew around the possible motive for the killings, with one popular theory suggesting a family dispute over the prince's choice of bride. In the aftermath, King Gyanendra ruled until the monarchy was abolished in 2008, marking the end of an era in Nepal. The royal family's privileges, including their tax-free status, were revoked, and even the national anthem that had praised the monarchy was retired. The motive behind the killings remains a mystery to this day, with the tragic event still haunting the memories of many Nepalese people. Number 14. Prince Geoffrey's extravagant criminal lifestyle. As the younger brother of the Sultan of Brunei, Prince Geoffrey of Brunei became infamous for his luxurious lifestyle, which regularly led to him getting into problems. He was able to attract the attention of people all around the world with his legendary parties, which were renowned for their free flow of wine and the presence of hundreds of women who had been flown in from all over the world to meet his every wish. When Shannon Marketick, a former Miss USA, filed a lawsuit against Geoffrey in 1997, she accused him and the Sultan of coercing her into things against her will and assaulting her. This lawsuit caused Geoffrey to become a prominent figure in the media. The case, on the other hand, was thrown out because of diplomatic immunity. When Geoffrey was charged with embezzling billions of dollars during his time as Brunei's finance minister in the year 2000, the debate reached a new level of intensity. Despite his denial of the claims, he ultimately consented to hand over his enormous fortune, which consisted of more than 500 houses, 2,000 automobiles, 100 paintings, 5 boats, and 9 aircraft. The Sultan then welcomed Prince Geoffrey back into the kingdom, and despite the extent of his theft, he did not face any substantial consequences for his conduct. As a result, Prince Geoffrey continues to have a contentious position within the royal family. Number 13. Camila Gate. The relationship between Charles III, then Prince Charles, and Camilla Parker Bowles was the subject of intense public scrutiny throughout the 1990s, especially while both were still married to their respective spouses. The affair became widely known when an intimate phone conversation between the two was secretly recorded and leaked to the British tabloid press in 1993. The contents of the conversation shocked the public. Charles and Camilla joked about intimate details in a graphic manner, with Charles even humorously suggesting he could return as Camilla's tampon, among other inappropriate remarks. The crude conversation, often referred to as Camila Gate, was printed in newspapers around the world, and it became a major scandal. Princess Diana, Charles's wife at the time, famously referred to the affair as sick, further intensifying the public's disapproval of the royal couple. The scandal damaged Charles's reputation and led many to question his suitability as the future king. However, after divorcing their spouses, Charles and Camilla's relationship continued, and they eventually married in 2005. Their union, which was solemnized with the blessing of the Church of England, was seen as a symbol of enduring love and faithfulness, a stark contrast to the tumultuous years that had preceded it. Number 12. Sarah Ferguson's cash for access controversy. Known affectionately as Fergie, the Duchess of York, Sarah Ferguson was married to Prince Andrew from 1986 until their divorce a decade later. The couple had separated in 1992, the same year Ferguson was famously photographed sunbathing topless while playfully interacting with another man. Ferguson, who later became estranged from the royal family and faced financial struggles, found herself at the center of a scandal in May 2010. She was secretly recorded by an undercover journalist accepting a bribe in exchange for providing access to her ex-husband, Prince Andrew. The scandal tarnished Ferguson's public image and further strained her relationship with the royal family. Since then, she has focused on rebuilding her reputation. As she expressed, "It's very hard for me because I long to be with the girls in their finery, looking lovely and being part of it all. But you cannot have your cake and eat it." Number 11. Prince Andrew's felonious friendship. The link between Prince Andrew and the notorious businessman Jeffrey Epstein is often considered to be the scandal that has caused the most damage to the British monarchy in recent years or even decades. The connections that the Duke of York had with Epstein, who was found guilty of sex trafficking minors, were the source of a great deal of controversy. In a court in Florida, Epstein's housekeeper testified that Prince Andrew paid multiple visits to Epstein's Palm Beach property throughout the year and received regular massages from the women who worked there. Amidst mounting criticism, Prince Andrew was compelled to resign from his position as the trade ambassador for the United Kingdom in 2011. The charges of sexual abuse made by Virginia Giuffre, who claimed that she was trafficked by Epstein and forced into sexual encounters with Prince Andrew while she was a minor, made his relationship to Epstein much more damaging. Giuffre claimed that she was forced into sexual encounters with Prince Andrew. Later on, she launched a legal action against him, which he vehemently disputed. Immediately following Epstein's passing in 2019, Prince Andrew participated in a controversial interview with Emily Maitlis for the BBC, which made the situation even more precarious. As a result of his comments, which were widely criticized for being evasive and callous, the scandal did not improve after the interview. Following the events that transpired, the Duke was effectively banished from public life by his brother, King Charles III, who also divested him of his royal patronage and military titles. Many people believe that Prince Andrew should be held accountable for the claims that have been made against him, and they have called for him to accept full responsibility for his acts. This is despite the fact that he has taken these actions. Number 10. Captain Mark Phillips's surprise love child. Captain Mark Phillips married Princess Anne in a grand ceremony on November 14, 1973, but unfortunately, just like her brother Charles's marriage, this one also hit the rocks. By 1989, Princess Anne and Phillips were separated. When asked about rumors of trouble, Phillips brushed it off, at least for a while. Then, 3 years later, things got messier. Heather Tonkin, an art teacher from New Zealand, took Phillips to court, claiming he was the father of her 5-year-old daughter, Felicity. A DNA test confirmed he was indeed the father. Apparently, Phillips and Tonkin had a one-night fling when he was still married to Anne. The scandal added to the strain, leading Princess Anne to file for divorce in April 1992. Phillips, trying to play it cool, still struggled to put the rumors to rest. Number 9. King Henry VIII kicks off the Church of England. The fact that King Henry VIII had been married to Catherine of Aragon for many years did not result in the birth of a male heir. Henry, who was both frustrated and yearning for a son, made the decision to put an end to his marriage to Catherine and instead marry Anne Boleyn, who was Catherine's lady-in-waiting. Henry's desire for a divorce was denied by the Pope, who was in charge of Catholic England at the time. Catherine, however, decided that she would not accept the divorce. Henry was infuriated by this decision, and as a result, he disassociated himself from the authority of the Pope, established the Church of England, and appointed himself as its leader. In 1533, he divorced Catherine and married Anne, allowing him the freedom to do whatever he wished. On the other hand, their marriage did not survive very long either. They were married for only 3 years until Anne was put to death on Henry's orders. The rest, as they say, is history. "Therefore, I take my leave of the world," she remarked, "and the rest is history." Number 8. Prince Albert II's unexpected family additions. There's a famous saying that Monaco is a sunny place for shady people, and it might just fit here. Since taking the throne in 2005, Prince Albert II has made headlines for claims that he fathered children out of wedlock. Just days before his coronation, he announced he'd had a son with a former flight attendant from Togo. Not long after, he was in the news again when a DNA test confirmed he'd fathered a daughter with an American woman in the 90s. Albert has 2 children from these relationships, Jasmine with Tamara Rotolo and Alexandra with Nicole Coste. Since neither mother was married to Albert, the 2 kids aren't in line for the throne. In 2011, he married Olympic swimmer Charlene Wittstock amid rumors of yet another child, which he denied. The couple has since welcomed twins, and after a few tough months apart, the family reunited with Princess Charlene in South Africa. Number 7. King Albert II's secret love child. In 1999, a journalist by the name of Mario Danil, who was only 18 years old at the time, presented an unofficial biography of Queen Paola of Belgium to the public. Danil made the suggestion in the novel that King Albert II, who was married to Queen Paola, had fathered an illegitimate daughter against her will. Many people in Belgium assumed that this disclosure was an assault on the monarchy, which caused shockwaves to spread throughout the country. After that, an investigation was conducted, and it was quickly established that the daughter who had been a mystery was indeed Delphine Boel. As soon as Albert resigned from his position as king in 2013, Boel initiated legal action and filed a paternity suit against him. Reportedly, Albert ignored her and pretended as if she did not exist, which caused the case to drag on for a number of years. Despite this, Boel did not retreat. She did not allow herself to be silenced by a king and instead stood up for herself. Last but not least, in the year 2020, Albert was compelled to submit to a DNA test, which ultimately demonstrated that he was, in fact, her father. Consequently, Delphine Boel was legally acknowledged as a member of the Belgian royal family, and she was bestowed with the title of Princess Delphine of Saxe-Coburg because of this recognition. Her offspring will also be able to claim the titles of princes and princesses in Belgium, thus solidifying her position in the annals of royal history. Number 6. King Vajiralongkorn imprisons his mistress in 2019. While still married to Queen Suthida, King Vajiralongkorn of Thailand made headlines in 2019 by officially recognizing his longtime mistress Sininat Wangvajirapakdi as a royal noble consort. Throughout history, Thai kings have kept harems, enjoying the company of many concubines, but Sininat's appointment as consort was the first in nearly a century. This new title placed her in a polygamous relationship with both the king and queen. However, things quickly soured. By October of that year, Sininat was stripped of her titles for allegedly being disloyal and conspiring against the queen, along with 6 other palace officials accused of evil actions. Rumors soon spread that she was imprisoned. But less than a year later, she was released, and her titles, ranks, and honors were fully restored by the king. In 2020, the king even called Sininat back to the palace to rejoin his harem. But controversy followed once again when hundreds of explicit images of her were stolen and leaked online, seemingly aimed at ruining her reputation. Number 5. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle step down. The wild partying methods that Prince Harry engaged in during his younger years were a major contributor to the numerous controversies that he was involved in at that time. In the year 2005, he was subjected to criticism for wearing a Nazi outfit, and in the year 2012, he was photographed stripping naked in Las Vegas. However, it appeared that these occurrences were eclipsed by his marriage to Meghan Markle, a former actress in Hollywood, which took place in 2018. The claims of racism that were made against Markle by the British tabloid press swiftly cast a shadow over their marriage, however. They made the choice to step down from their royal duties in January of 2020, and this scrutiny had a significant influence in their decision. According to Harry's explanation, they desired to reclaim control of their lives and eliminate the influence of the press on every facet of their existence. Following their move to California later that year, the pair became even more controversial, particularly as a result of their high-profile interview with Oprah Winfrey and Harry's memoir, Spare, which was published in 2023. As the prince stated in his statement, "I'm sorry that me owning my story and being able to tell my own story is upsetting to some people, but I have to rely on the truth." Number 4. King Carl XV. Gustafs' wild lifestyle exposed. King Carl XV. Gustaf of Sweden, known for his largely progressive reign, had his reputation severely tarnished in 2010 with the release of the controversial book The Reluctant Monarch. The book accused the king of a playboy lifestyle, alleging that he frequented underground strip clubs and had an extramarital affair with a Swedish celebrity. To make matters worse, the authors claimed that a secret police force called Säpo had been used to keep these activities under wraps. The king publicly addressed the allegations during an outdoor press conference, stating, "I've spoken with my family and the queen, and we choose to turn the page and move forward, because as I understand, this is something that happened a long time ago." The book's release sparked strong public backlash, with many directing their anger at the authors. One of the co-authors reportedly lost her job in public media as a result of the controversy. Despite this, King Carl XVI's Gustaf remains a beloved figure in Sweden, with a special place in the hearts of the Swedish people. Number 3. Princess Margaret and Peter Townsend's forbidden romance. The fleeting and heartfelt relationship that took place between Princess Margaret and Captain Peter Townsend in the 1950s caught the attention of people all across the world. It was at the time that Margaret was still a teenager, and Townsend was serving as a royal query to her father, King George VI, that they began their relationship. Over the course of time, they built a profound and intense bond, which was gently affirmed in public when Margaret was observed brushing lint out of Townsend's jacket during the coronation of Queen Elizabeth II. This unassuming and personal gesture gave the impression of a connection that was significantly more profound than what the general public initially perceived. Townsend was a divorcee, and the Church of England, which the royal family adhered to, prohibited remarriage of divorced individuals. Despite the fact that their passion was adored by many people, their partnership was unable to overcome this obstacle. Princess Margaret selected the latter option when she was confronted with a decision that was impossible to make. Either she should marry Townsend and give up her claim to the throne, or she should break off the engagement. A decision that would have a significant impact on the rest of her life was the decision that she took to end her relationship with Townsend, which she described as the ultimate sacrifice in a public statement that was both devastating and emotional. The forbidden love affair that took place between Margaret and Townsend is still considered to be one of the most heartbreaking and moving episodes in the history of the British royal family. Number 2. Edward VII's ties to the Nazis. After abdicating the throne in 1936, Edward VIII, now the Duke of Windsor, moved to Paris with his new wife, Wallis Simpson. He quickly became a prominent figure in European society, but his post-abdication life would be marked by controversial actions, most notably his connection to Nazi Germany. In 1937, Edward and Wallis embarked on a highly publicized tour of Nazi Germany, where they met Adolf Hitler. The Duke was photographed giving a Nazi salute, a gesture that raised eyebrows due to the regime's violent and oppressive ideology. Despite the public scrutiny, the British government worked hard to suppress any reports or images related to Edward's relationship with the Nazi leader. These ties became even more alarming during World War II when it was revealed that the Nazis had planned to kidnap Edward and reinstate him as the British monarch after their anticipated conquest of the United Kingdom. This revelation, which surfaced years after the war, led many to question Edward's loyalty during a time of global conflict, casting a shadow over his legacy as a former king. Number 1. Juan Carlos I. Multiple scandals throughout his rule. Juan Carlos I, the former king of Spain, was once beloved by the Spanish people for his role in helping the country transition to democracy following the death of dictator Francisco Franco. However, his reign was marred by multiple scandals which tarnished his image over time. While he was married to Queen Sofia, Juan Carlos was rumored to have had numerous extramarital affairs, but his reputation remained relatively intact until 2012. The tipping point came when, during a severe economic recession in Spain, the king took a lavish hunting trip to Botswana. Not only did he sustain a serious hip injury during the trip, but it was also revealed that he had traveled with Carina Suzanne Wittgenstein, a Danish businesswoman who was rumored to be his mistress. The public backlash from this incident was overwhelming, particularly as Spain was facing severe economic hardship, and the king's actions seemed tone-deaf. The scandal played a significant role in his decision to abdicate the throne in 2014, making way for his son, Felipe VI, to become king. In 2020, Juan Carlos I found himself embroiled in corruption investigations, particularly concerning his alleged involvement in a Saudi rail deal. These investigations led him to go into self-imposed exile in Abu Dhabi. Despite intense media speculation about his whereabouts and activities, the Spanish royal family has remained tight-lipped. Juan Carlos, however, expressed his willingness to cooperate with judicial authorities in the investigation.